When I confronted him with proof that he had used our house deposit for his hidden family in Chicago, he was taken aback. Little did he know, I had already purchased the dream home without him, utilizing the investment account he was completely unaware of. Before we dive back in, share with us where you're listening from, and if this tale resonates with you, be sure to subscribe, as I've prepared something truly special for you tomorrow. The congratulatory email from the real estate agent illuminated my phone screen while I sat in the kitchen, anticipating David's return from his business trip. This moment was the result of 3 years of careful planning and dedicated savings. I had acquired my dream home completely, while my husband depleted our shared finances for his hidden existence. I savored another sip of the exquisite Cabernet I had been reserving for a moment of significance. This definitely met the criteria, albeit not in the manner I had previously envisioned. The bottle was a cherished gift from David's mother, presented to us on our 5th anniversary, accompanied by a heartfelt note suggesting we share it when we eventually purchased our first home together. I couldn't help but notice the irony tonight. Our apartment exuded a different ambiance, a sense of lightness, as though the burden of deceit was finally starting to dissipate. The framed photos on our mantel narrated a tale of what seemed to be an idyllic marriage. Our wedding day on the beach in Maui, hiking adventures in Colorado, and Christmas celebrations with his parents in Vermont. Joyful instances captured, forever, prior to unveiling the reality. For 7 years they shared their lives, yet for at least 5 of those years, he had been leading a life concealed in shadows. I looked at my watch. It read 6:45 p.m. David's flight from Chicago should have touched down an hour ago. He was precise in managing his time, a trait I used to respect. At that moment, I realized it was simply the essential accuracy of a person, juggling 2 distinct existences. The lasagna baking in the oven enveloped the apartment in a warm embrace of basil and garlic, creating a delightful atmosphere. David's favorite meal, which I had crafted with care. Take care this evening. A final meal before everything fell apart. Darling, I've returned. David's voice resonated within our apartment, accompanied by the unmistakable thud of his luggage. Exactly on cue. Thursday evening, perfectly timed for dinner, as though he hadn't been living a different life with another woman and 2 kids, 3 states away. In the kitchen, I responded, maintaining a light and warm tone, the same one I had honed over the past 18 months since uncovering the truth. What was your experience in Chicago like? He stood in the doorway, a hint of uncertainty crossing his smile as he noticed the wine bottle uncorked. At 38, David retained the same youthful allure that had drawn me to him at a friend's gallery opening. Dark hair with a hint of silver at the temples, warm brown eyes, and a smile that made you feel like the sole focus of his attention. That smile had deceived us all, myself included. Tiring. The client presentations are becoming increasingly challenging. He relaxed his tie, the blue one I had gifted him last Christmas, the very same tie I had noticed in the family photos his hidden girlfriend had shared on her not-so-private Instagram account. What brings us together today? He gestured toward the wine. I just missed you, I said, as I slid a glass toward him. 3 days seems to stretch on endlessly. David visibly eased, a wave of relief crossing his face as he accepted the glass. Unbeknownst to him, during his absence, I had orchestrated the relocation of the last remnants of my possessions into my new abode, retaining only the essentials for this concluding chapter. I have no idea about that. Over the past 3 days, I have been engaged in discussions with divorce attorneys, financial advisors, and private investigators, bringing to completion 18 months of meticulous planning. I missed you as well, he replied, extending his hand toward mine over the counter. "However, there is some positive news. I believe we're on the verge of securing that significant account. If everything goes as planned, we should have our house deposit by summer." I clasped his hand gently and offered a warm smile. The deposit for our home. The one he had vowed to deliver for 3 long years. The one that seemed to vanish whenever we approached, accompanied by justifications regarding market declines and unforeseen operational costs. The funds that had been allocated for private school tuition for his 5-year-old daughter and 3-year-old son in Chicago, as well as the mortgage on the charming colonial home they shared with Jessica, the college girlfriend he seemingly never ceased to see. "That sounds delightful," I replied, keeping up my well-rehearsed facade of the encouraging partner. "I've been exploring various listings online. Care to take a look at them?" David savored a lengthy sip of wine, his gaze flickering momentarily to his watch, likely estimating the time until he could slip away to the shower, where he'd touch base with Jessica, ensuring I wouldn't catch a word of it. I had kept an eye on those discussions as well, using the surveillance software my private investigator had set up on his work-only phone, the device I was advised to leave alone. "Of course, but perhaps we could do it after dinner. There's an incredible aroma in the air." He pointed to the oven where I had crafted his beloved lasagna, one final feast before his meticulously crafted facade shattered. What David was unaware of, could never imagine, was that behind my pleasant demeanor rested years of meticulous strategy. Although he perceived me as a financially dependent spouse, handling our modest home with the earnings from my part-time graphic design job, the truth was far from that. 7. Years ago, when we first crossed paths, I was certainly navigating the challenges of being a graphic designer. David, thriving in his father's investment firm, appeared to be a fantasy, always backing my career, urging me to chase my passion, regardless of the financial rewards. "Listen to your inner voice," he had advised. "I will handle everything else." That was prior to my understanding that the remainder involved another family. The reality was, I had ceased my battles long ago. The modest freelance projects he once scarcely inquired about had blossomed into a flourishing digital marketing agency, boasting 15 employees and clients spanning 3 countries. My evenings with the girls, occurring twice a month, had truly been gatherings for strategic discussions and presentations to potential backers. My hobby account was a varied collection of investments that had consistently surpassed market performance for 3 consecutive years. I initially chose to keep my achievements to myself, relishing the element of surprise it brought him. After uncovering his treachery, I upheld the facade, for completely distinct reasons. A misdirected email had set everything in motion 18 months prior. A tuition receipt from the school has been uploaded to our shared cloud storage. I thought it was an error until I noticed David's name listed as the parent. The ensuing inquiry uncovered the complete scope of his deceit. A 5-year affair with Jessica, his alleged college ex, 2 children he had never disclosed, and a series of calculated financial maneuvers from our shared accounts to sustain them. I had the urge to confront him right away, yet something held me back. It could have been the jolt of surprise, or perhaps a more profound urge to protect oneself. Instead, I transformed my anguish into a meticulously crafted exit plan, so thorough and flawless that when the moment came for me to leave, there would be nothing remaining for him to seize from me. Little did he know that tonight, as we sat down to enjoy his favorite meal, paired with the wine intended for our shared future, I would reveal the truth about the deception he had been living with all these years. I observed him savor another sip of wine, mentally preparing the speech I would deliver in about 45 minutes. However, let's prioritize dinner first. Initially, another act as the partner he believed he understood. "Share some stories about Chicago," I remarked as I dished out the lasagna. "I'm eager to hear every detail about your journey." David embarked on his familiar blend of genuine business specifics and invented appointments, a storyline he had honed to mask his moments with Jessica and the kids. I listened intently, posing the appropriate inquiries at just the right times, fulfilling my role in this concluding chapter of our union. On the kitchen counter, my phone vibrated softly with a message from my lawyer, assuring me that all was set. The evidence lay neatly arranged, the documents meticulously filed, and my fresh start awaited just a short distance away, in a home that belonged solely to me. What lingered was the showdown I had practiced endlessly in my thoughts. "This is absolutely delightful," David remarked, extending his hand towards his wine glass once more. "You've truly surpassed expectations." A smile crept across my face as I recalled the flash drive nestled in my pocket, holding every detail of his betrayal. "I'm only beginning," I responded. David Morton had always excelled at separating the different aspects of his life. His effectiveness in his role stemmed from his remarkable skill in detaching emotion from decision-making, allowing him to establish distinct boundaries across various aspects of his life. I once held this quality in high regard until I realized he was leveraging it to sustain two distinct families. "Please, share the details of the Anderson account," I encouraged, topping off his wineglass. "Last week you noted they were contemplating a boost in their investment." David nodded, a sense of ease washing over him as he settled into the comfort of the known. Conversations about business felt like familiar territory, one of the rare domains where he didn't have to create a complete facade. "They're expanding their portfolio with us," he remarked, a sense of pride clear in his tone. It was a tense situation for a bit, but I successfully finalized the agreement yesterday morning. He savored another bite of the lasagna. "I believe that's one of the reasons we'll secure the house deposit by summer. This commission should definitely elevate us to new heights." I acknowledged with a nod, embodying my character flawlessly. "That's fantastic, David. Your dedication has truly paid off." Honestly, I had already reviewed his commission structure several months back. The Anderson deal would bring in about $85,000 before taxes, funds that would probably be divided between sustaining our current lifestyle and providing for Jessica and the kids in Chicago. Funds that would never contribute to the house he kept assuring me about. He leaned in closer, a mischievous sparkle in his eye that used to make me feel like we were allies taking on the world together. "Perhaps we ought to consider Westbrook rather than Brighton Hills. The educational institutions have improved, and property values are on the rise at an accelerated pace." I couldn't help but notice the irony. Westbrook was merely 3 miles away from the home I had already acquired, the one he would never enter. I concur. Westbrook would be delightful. Last month, I came across a handful of listings there. David picked up his phone, browsing through his emails. "An agent recently forwarded me a selection of properties. Just a moment. I'll locate them for you." I observed him intently. The agent he mentioned was indeed real. Melanie Chambers, the very same real estate agent he had engaged to buy the Chicago home for Jessica. The properties he was about to present were certainly located in Westbrook, thoughtfully chosen to align with our estimated budget, all part of the intricate narrative he crafted, presenting homes we would never acquire, while I quietly possessed one he would never discover. He slid his phone across the table, saying, "Here. This property features 4 bedrooms, space for development." He smiled with intention. The words struck with the force of a punch. Despite a 1.5 years of readiness, Space for development, as though he hadn't already developed. His loved ones, in another place. For 7 years, I had the conviction that we were crafting a shared destiny. We had a conversation about children, arranged for them. I had even undergone fertility testing after 3 years of trying, without success. The tests revealed no issues. The physician proposed that it could be stress, or maybe we ought to examine David next. He had consistently discovered excuses to delay. His examination, pressure from work, poor timing, perhaps next month. At last, clarity dawned upon me. He was not in need of fertility testing. He had already brought 2 healthy children into the world with Jessica. It's stunning, I remarked, scrutinizing the listing while keeping my poise. The backyard brings me joy, David said, a proud smile on his face. I had a feeling you would enjoy it. The moment it caught my eye, I knew it was the choice Sarah would make. He had a knack for it, making me feel acknowledged, comprehended. It was that very quality that captivated me at first, the feeling that he understood me more deeply than anyone else ever could. The most remarkable illusion, I had come to understand, was the ability to make another feel understood while remaining entirely concealed. We might consider planting that vegetable. The garden you've always dreamed of, he went on, becoming more engrossed in his vision. Perhaps consider bringing home that dog you've been mentioning. I nodded in agreement, pondering whether Jessica and the kids had a dog in their Chicago residence. Imagine if they cultivated a vegetable garden, if they existed amidst the vows he had given to me. David topped off his wine glass, marking his 3rd pour of the evening. I had intentionally selected his preferred Cabernet, aware that it would encourage him to speak more freely. The greater his sense of ease, the more catastrophic the descent would become. "How is your mother doing?" I inquired, shifting the focus of the conversation. "Did you happen to see her during your time in Chicago?" A fleeting moment of tension flitted across his face, so subtle that it could easily go unnoticed by anyone else. However, I had been observing his cues for a 1.5 years. She was not in good spirits. I did reach out to her, however. Yet another falsehood. His mother resided in Phoenix, not in Chicago. Yet he had often relied on her as a facade, asserting he was with her, while he was truly with Jessica. The true reason his mother frequently seemed unwell during video calls was that she was unaware of these alleged visits and could inadvertently contradict his narrative. "That's unfortunate," I remarked with empathy. "Perhaps we could arrange for her to come out here next month. Nearly a year has passed since we last laid eyes on her." David adjusted his position, feeling a sense of unease. "Perhaps. Let's check in on her emotions." I savored the wine, my gaze fixed on him as I held the glass to my lips. "I reached out to her yesterday. She shared that she has plans for a cruise with her sister in May. Did she mention that to you?" A moment of panic crossed his features before he regained his composure. Ah, yes, the cruise. Indeed, she brought it up, amidst all the happenings surrounding the Anderson account. It slipped my mind. I nodded, feigning belief in his words. Yet another falsehood recorded, another strand in the intricate web of deceit he had crafted within our union. The reality was that I had actually reached out to his mother, but it wasn't merely yesterday. We maintained consistent communication. During my inquiry, she was heartbroken to discover the truth about Jessica and the children, about the life her son had been leading. In her astonishment, she uncovered that David had concealed major parts of his life from her as well, such as his financial struggles in his early 20s and a short-lived, unsuccessful marriage shortly after college that he had successfully kept, hidden from everyone. Flight records. I pressed on. disregarding his interruption. In the last 2 years, I've made 37 journeys to Chicago. Not business trips, as you suggested, but journeys to your other residence, to your other family. I placed additional documents down, enrollment at school, paperwork for Emma showing David as the father, medical documentation confirming his attendance at Michael's birth, a family pass to the Lincoln Park Zoo. How did you manage that? He started to speak, but I interrupted him once more. Records of phone calls and texts to Jessica each day, encompassing our anniversary, Christmas morning while I prepared breakfast for your parents, and the night I spent in the hospital following my car accident. My voice trembled a bit at this final point, the memory still fresh. He abandoned me in the hospital that night, citing a work emergency. At that moment, I realized he had been reaching out to say goodnight to Jessica. David's hands trembled, his meticulously built reality crumbling around him. Sarah, I beg you, allow me to clarify. It's not as it appears. It's not what it seems, I reiterated, my tone elevating just a bit. Can you describe it for me, David? It feels as though the foundation of our marriage has been built on falsehoods. It seems that as I was focused on creating our future, you were constructing an entirely different existence with someone else. It's complicated, he said, raking his fingers through his hair. A nervous habit I had always found charming. Now it felt like yet another display. Jessica and I share a past. When she reached out to me following her divorce 4 years ago, I provided. Indeed, I am aware. I'm left wondering why you decided to build a family with her while giving the impression that you were trying for one with me. Why did you choose to sit with me during fertility appointments, fully aware that you had the ability to father children? Why did you comfort me during my tears each month when my period arrived, while your son and daughter were maturing in Chicago? The memories surged within me. Each month's disappointment, the ebb and flow of hope, the lingering sense of failure that had shadowed my existence, all created, all superfluous, all harsh in ways I was still uncovering. David extended his hand toward mine, bridging the space between us at the table. I withdrew. Do not, I stated with a chill in my voice. Please, keep your distance. He stepped back, a look of confusion on his face. Excellent. Let him experience a glimpse of the confusion I felt when my life fell apart 18 months ago. I never intended to cause you pain, he murmured softly. And yet you opted for choices that would unavoidably lead to suffering. For countless days, you opted to weave falsehoods, to mislead, to turn your back on trust. I rose to my feet, seeking space from him, and made my way to the kitchen window. The city outside maintained its evening cadence, oblivious to the turmoil brewing within our apartment. Vehicles glided by, individuals strolled with their dogs, and a pair shared laughter at the street corner. Genuine existence, true existence, a sensation I hadn't felt in my marriage for years, maybe even never before. What's the situation with the funds, David? I inquired, keeping my back turned to him. What is the status of our house deposit? He started with, I haven't. Stop deceiving me from now on, I cut in, pivoting to meet his gaze. I have reviewed the accounts. I have a clear understanding of where our funds have been allocated. Tuition for Emma at the private school, the mortgage for the Lincoln Park house, and the family trip to Disney World last summer, all while you claimed to be at a conference in Phoenix. His silence spoke volumes, the down payment that inexplicably shrank each time we approached. I pressed on, the investments that fell short, the unavoidable business expenses, all deceptions, all funds redirected to your other family. David sank into his chair, the facade of innocence, discarded. What is it that you seek from me, Sarah? What is the purpose of all this? Is this meant to bring me shame? The inquiry hit me with such an overwhelming sense of egotism that I nearly burst into laughter. Even now, confronted with undeniable proof of his treachery, his focus remained solely on himself. It was the embarrassment, not the hurt he had inflicted. The crux of the matter, I reiterated, is that for 1.5 years, I've carried the burden of knowing that my husband, the man with whom I envision raising children and growing old, has been leading a double existence. It feels as though all the dreams I believed we were crafting together were merely an illusion. Approached the table once more and extracted additional documents from the folder. The reality is that as you depleted our resources to sustain your hidden life, I witnessed our future fade away. The life we envisioned, the family we discussed, the future we aspired to, all forfeited to uphold your intricate facade. I slid a bank statement across the table, revealing a withdrawal of $85,000, the amount for our latest home purchase. Funds were deposited and transferred to an account in Chicago merely 3 months prior. "Are you familiar with the experience?" I inquired, my tone chillingly subdued. "To witness your partner methodically tear apart your dreams to construct a new reality for another? To smile and nod as he speaks of the future and distant dreams, fully aware that those assurances hold no substance?" David remained silent. He found himself at a loss for words. For 7 years I have embraced my role as a devoted partner. I have arranged dinners with your colleagues, refined your presentations, heard about your work challenges, and celebrated your achievements. I have molded my existence to align with yours, convinced that we were in this together. I took out my phone and navigated to another image. This is a photo of David and me at his company Christmas party last December. My smile shone brightly as I gazed up at him. His arm encircled my waist, and his expression radiated genuine affection. 2 weeks later, he celebrated Christmas Eve with Jessica and the kids, returning on Christmas morning with presents he said were from a client. "Take a look at this," I remarked, pushing the phone in his direction. "Observe the joy on my face, the pride I felt in being your wife. In the meantime, you were constructing a life with another person, forming a family that you denied me the opportunity to experience." David looked at the photo briefly before turning his gaze elsewhere, avoiding my eyes. "I placed my trust in you," I said, my voice trembling. "With my emotions, with my destiny, with my ability to create life. I trusted your words when you assured me we had time, that we would start a family once we were financially prepared. I respected your decision to postpone your fertility testing when you expressed the need to prioritize saving for a house first. I retrieved one last document from the folder, the results of my fertility testing from 3 years prior. Everything is normal, with no issues or medical reasons preventing conception. I quietly held myself accountable, feeling the weight of not becoming pregnant, of not measuring up, of somehow letting you down. David shut his eyes, possibly at last sensing the burden of his actions. All those nights I wept, questioning what was amiss within me. For months I meticulously monitored my cycle, recorded my temperature, and planned intimate moments around ovulation. Wasn't it all just in vain? Since you had already embraced the role of a father. You already had the family you desired, just not alongside me. The stillness lingered in the air, thick with the weight of countless deceptions and the hurt they had inflicted. In that moment, I could perceive distinctly the recurring theme of degradation I had faced. It's not only the monumental betrayal of his hidden family, but also the constant affronts of his empty assurances, his scattered focus, and his only partially engaged existence in our union. Each anniversary gift bought with funds that might have contributed to our future, yet instead bolstered his other household. Each business trip was, in reality, moments spent with his other family. Every discussion about the home we would never have, as he had already created it with another person. "Sarah," he finally whispered, his voice almost a breath. "I apologize." 3 words, as though they could ever encapsulate the enormity of his betrayal. Apologies for the repetition. Apologies for the years of betrayal. Apologies for taking away our future. Or perhaps just apologies for being exposed. I shut the folder and rose to my feet, a wave of fatigue washing over me from this dialogue, from his company, from the pretense we had been maintaining. "Prepare a... David, the bag. I need you to leave this place by tonight." He glanced up, taken, aback by the strength in my tone. Maybe he anticipated tears, hysteria, a theatrical moment he could control, and ultimately resolve. Instead, he confronted a serene, chilling inevitability. "Where should I head to?" he inquired, his voice reflecting a true sense of confusion. "It seems you have choices available, right? A complete residence in Chicago. I'm certain Jessica is waiting. Sarah, let's be sensible about this. This is a conversation we must have. We cannot simply..." I interjected. "We can't." "What can't we do, David? Terminate a union founded on deception? How can we separate our lives when you've been leading 2 distinct lives for so long? What precisely are our limitations?" I glanced at my watch, a calculated move to convey just how insignificant his objections had become to me at this moment. "You've got half an hour to gather your must-haves. Whatever you abandon, I will ensure it gets sent to your mother's residence in Phoenix. The house of your actual mother, not the imaginary one you've been going to in Chicago." David stood, grappling to reclaim authority over the unfolding events. "You can't simply dismiss me like that. This place belongs to me as well. I am listed on the lease." In a composed manner, I mentioned that I had a conversation with the building management earlier today, given that I've been the one covering the rent for the last 2 years, while you allocated your income to other pursuits. They were quite accommodating in transferring the lease entirely to my name. Yet another deception revealed. David asserted that he was handling our rent by means of automatic withdrawals from his account. In truth, those funds were allocated to the mortgage in Chicago, while I managed our living costs. His face flushed, a blend of humiliation and fury washing over. "Him! This has been in the works for some time. For how long have you been aware?" "It's been 1.5 years, I mentioned. Months of feigning happiness while you spun your tales, observing you glance at your phone for her messages, absorbing your accounts of business trips that were mere fabrications. 18 months spent collecting proof, seeking advice, engaging legal counsel, safeguarding the few remnants you haven't yet seized from me." David reclined in his chair, the weight of my words finally settling in. "What about us? 7 years spent side by side. Does that not hold any significance?" "It was everything to me," I responded. "This is precisely why it causes such pain. That's why I've reached my limit." David gazed at me with a look of newfound recognition. Maybe he was. For 7 years he had been bound to an illusion, the encouraging, financially reliant partner he had conjured in his imagination, rather than the real woman who was present before him. "What do you mean you've been covering the rent?" he inquired, seizing this detail as if it were a lifeline in turbulent waters. Your design efforts hardly suffice to meet your car payment." I smiled then. Not the agreeable smile of the partner he believed he understood, but something more, incisive, more authentic. "So that was your belief, was it? What I permitted you to think." I made my way to the closet by the entryway and grabbed my laptop bag, not the MacBook he had gifted me 3 Christmases ago, which was resting on the desk in our spare room, but my work setup. I input the password and angled the screen in his direction. "Martina's design isn't just me hustling in coffee shops for some extra cash, David. This is it." Displayed on the screen was the website for my company, polished and sophisticated, highlighting a collection of esteemed clients and celebrated projects. The About page featured a collective of 15 talented designers and developers. The roster of clients featured both prestigious Fortune 500 companies and innovative startups, showcasing a diverse range of partnerships. "I don't get it," he remarked, glancing through the website. "This cannot possibly be true. What is the reason? Years ago, you chose to view my design work as merely a hobby, a convenient belief that allowed you to think I relied on you for financial support." I shut the laptop with a decisive click. "David, you never inquired. You made an assumption, and I allowed it to happen." Yet he waved his hand in a futile manner towards our apartment. "What's the point of living this way when you've achieved so much? What are the reasons behind the budget limitations? The postponed acquisition of the home? I pondered the very same questions regarding you." I responded. "Why are there always worries about money when your salary and bonuses should have sufficed for us? At this moment, clarity has been achieved. You were providing for 2 families. I was dedicating resources to my future." I approached the bookshelf and pulled out 3 hardbound volumes, uncovering a small safe hidden behind them. David observed in astonishment as I input the combination and retrieved a pile of financial documents. 2 years into our marriage, as I recognized the significant growth of my company, I sought the expertise of a financial advisor. The statements were set down on the table. She suggested that I maintain my assets separately, considering your strong desire to manage our shared finances. David grabbed the top statement, his eyes growing wide at the balance. "I have verified my investment portfolio. At present, the valuation stands at slightly more than $2.3 million, in addition to the company, which was recently appraised at $4.8 million during its acquisition. Conversations!" His mouth moved in a silent rhythm, grappling with the new reality that clashed with the story he had woven about our shared existence. As you were quietly draining our shared accounts to sustain your hidden family, I was busy creating something for myself, something you overlooked or chose not to inquire about. Another document has been taken from the safe. This document pertains to a property deed. Do you recall Avalon Heights? Remember that development in Westbrook we passed by last year? You called it overpriced pretension. 3 weeks ago, I purchased a house there and settled the payment in full. David's face shifted from pale to vibrant, fury starting to overshadow disbelief. "You've been deceiving me as well," he charged. "No, David, I've been safeguarding my own interests. A distinction exists. I collected the documents and placed them back into the safe. I did not establish a second family. I never depleted our resources to sustain a concealed existence. I created something unique while you were occupied with other matters." I glanced at my watch once more. Just 20 minutes remaining. It could be a good time to begin gathering your things. He rose suddenly, sending his chair tumbling behind him. "This is absolutely unbelievable. You can't simply drop all of this on me and think I'll walk away. It's time for us to have a mature conversation about this. just like the responsible individual you were when you brought 2 children into the world without informing your spouse, or the grown-up who methodically depleted our savings while assuring me of a future you never meant to deliver. I shifted to the kitchen counter and leaned against it, feeling a sudden fatigue from the conversation, from his presence, from the years spent loving someone who had never really been there. For the past 18 months, I've carried the weight of knowing that my marriage was a deception, I said softly. I've smiled through dinners with your colleagues, attended functions with your family, and upheld the illusion of our joyful life together, all while collecting evidence and getting ready for this moment. David's anger appeared to diminish somewhat. What's the hold-up? Why didn't you address me when you discovered the truth? It was a reasonable inquiry, one I had pondered repeatedly throughout the past 18 months. Initially, it was a jolt of disbelief. It was astonishing to realize what I had uncovered. It felt completely disconnected from the person I believed I had wed. At that point, it became a matter of strategy. I had to grasp the complete scope of your trickery before I faced it head-on. I folded my arms, locking eyes with him unwaveringly. To be entirely candid, I found myself intrigued by the extent of your actions, the number of falsehoods you would weave, and the intricate design of this dual existence you created. Was this all just a sort of trial? He insisted, motioning toward the evidence folder that lay open on the table. No, David, it was about protecting oneself. When I found Jessica and the kids, it marked the end of our marriage. However, I required time to ensure my future was secure, the future you had meticulously eroded over the years. I approached the living room window, gazing out at the shimmering city lights. Behind me, I sensed David moving restlessly, his steps echoing with a weight of unease. While you believed I was merely working part-time from coffee shops, I was, in fact, busy building and managing a thriving design agency. While you thought I relied on you financially, I was actually investing, saving, and getting ready for a life independent of you. I turned to face him once more, the partner you believed you understood, the one who relied on your financial backing, who tolerated your justifications for postponed home acquisitions and fertility efforts. She was never real. It seems the devoted, trustworthy partner I believed I had tied the knot with was merely an illusion. David collapsed onto the sofa, his fingers raking through his hair once more. What is the situation with Jessica? Did you reach out to her? Absolutely. This morning my attorney presented an extensive dossier outlining your dual existence. She is aware of my existence now, just as I have been aware of hers for the past 18 months. His head jerked upward, fear evident in his gaze. You overstepped your bounds. She had every right to know, David, just as I have the right to know. While I imagine her day is far more surprising than mine, I can take solace in the fact that I only had to uncover one hidden family secret. To be honest, my chat with Jessica turned out to be unexpectedly polite. She was just as caught off guard by David's deceit as I was. He described me as a college girlfriend, unable to move on from our breakup, painting me as a mentally unstable woman who sometimes caused him issues. The protective order he asserted was against me was entirely concocted. David claimed that his regular business trips were efforts to handle my increasingly unpredictable behavior without bringing her or the children into it, a complex fabrication as intricate as the one he had constructed for me. Jessica was unaware of my existence as well, wasn't she? I inquired, even though I was already aware of the response from our earlier discussion. This isn't my true self. She believed I was just a troubled former partner you were attempting to assist out of pure kindness. David's quietude spoke volumes. You informed her about your divorce, mentioning that I had declined to sign the papers and that you were managing the situation with your attorney. You presented her with counterfeit divorce papers and a non-existent protective order. I shook my head, utterly astonished by the depth of his trickery. I find myself puzzled by the reason behind it. Why not simply choose her over me? What's the point of juggling 2 whole lives when one would suffice for the majority? David lifted his gaze, his face a mask of ambiguity. I cherished you both. The straightforwardness of his response, its boldness, elicited a laugh from me, a brief, sharp sound devoid of any amusement. What you're describing isn't love, David. True love is not built on deceit, trickery, or control. True love does not involve witnessing your partner endure the pain of infertility while you create a family with someone else. I approached the door, signaling that our discussion was coming to a close. The irony lies in the fact that had you been truthful from the start, had you shared that you had reconnected with Jessica and wished to be with her, I would have willingly let you leave. It might have been painful, yet I would have endured. Rather, you opted for destruction. Not merely a single existence, but a trio. Mine, Jessica's, and in the end yours as well. I stole another look at my watch. Just 15 minutes remaining. David stood, a familiar fury creeping back into his expression. 7 years of marriage can't simply be wiped away with a ticking clock, Sarah. This decision involves more than just you. 18 months ago, I made my choice upon uncovering your betrayal. All that has transpired up to now has merely set the stage for this pivotal moment. I made my way to the bedroom and took his suitcase from the closet, setting it down on the bed. A move that carries both utility and meaning. I wouldn't prepare his belongings, but I would assist in his leaving. As you pack, I remarked, making my way back to the living room. I want to inform you that I have also frozen our joint accounts. My attorney will reach out to you regarding the divorce process. Considering the thorough records of your financial misconduct and emotional harm, I don't expect a protracted struggle. David trailed behind, urgency palpable in his tone. Sarah, if you could, we can navigate this together. Couples therapy, a new beginning. There is no longer a us, David. It has been a span of 18 months without any occurrence. It's possible that it never existed. I grabbed my phone and fired off a brief message, a predetermined cue to my lawyer that the encounter was underway, as intended. What you are feeling at this moment, this overwhelming sense of confusion and treachery, this is how I felt upon uncovering the hidden aspects of your existence. The distinction lies in the fact that I was not worthy of it. You certainly do. David's phone vibrated, signaling a new text message. He cast a quick look at it, his complexion growing even more ashen. Jessica? I inquired, fully aware of what the response would be. I envisioned she might have a few inquiries for you too. He regarded me with a blend of fury and reluctant admiration. It seems you've considered every detail, haven't you? I spent 1.5 years planning while you were occupied with the demands of 2 families. That was a worthwhile use of time, in my opinion. I transitioned to the kitchen and started organizing, a routine task amidst the most unusual of situations. The remnants of our last meal lingered, his beloved lasagna, the celebratory wine, and the untouched dessert that now felt like a silent testament to what once was. Every sign points to a conclusion, paving the path for fresh beginnings. Have you ever considered what the most peculiar aspect might be? I remarked, cleansing the dishes with careful attention to detail. For 18 months, I've been navigating a complex existence, embodying the unsuspecting spouse while meticulously collecting proof and crafting my way out. The distinction lies in the fact that my hidden existence was essential for my very survival. Your path was shaped by decisions, a continuum of decisions made consistently over time. I set the final dish into the dishwasher and turned to him, my hands still glistening with moisture. In a sense, we remain unfamiliar to one another. The David I believed I married was merely an illusion, and the Sarah you thought you understood vanished the instant I discovered that tuition receipt in our cloud storage. David remained still in the heart of the living room, a figure trapped between two crumbling realities. The phone buzzed incessantly with messages from Jessica, each one a further fracture in the carefully built structure of his existence. "Just 12 minutes," I said softly. "It's time to begin the packing process." David approached the bedroom, resigning himself to the certainty of his departure. As he started to pack, I sank into the sofa, my thoughts wandering back to the 18 months that had brought me to this point. The arduous journey of constructing a case against the man I had once held dear. A solitary error had set everything in motion. A school tuition receipt was automatically uploaded to our shared cloud storage. Morton, Emma, spring term. The document was marked accordingly. Initially, I believed it had been misfiled. A document from another person inadvertently synced to our account. Yet the parent name provided was clearly identifiable. David Morton. Many individuals may have approached their partner right away, sought clarifications, and leveled accusations. Yet, a profound instinct within me, maybe a sense of self-preservation or a touch of strategic insight, restrained my actions. If David could conceal something of this magnitude, what other secrets might remain undisclosed to me? Would revealing my discovery prematurely prevent me from uncovering the entire truth? Thus, I commenced my inquiry with a careful and systematic approach. Initially, I established a distinct email account and cloud storage that David was unable to reach. From that point on, I began to record every detail. I discovered the process of duplicating evidence and arranging it in chronological order. I engaged the services of a private investigator, Marlene Vasquez, who is a former federal agent specializing in financial fraud, utilizing resources from my business that David was completely unaware of. Marlene's work was meticulous and subtle. In just 3 weeks, she laid out the framework of David's hidden existence, detailing the Chicago residence, the persona of Jessica Roberts, the presence of 2 children, and a series of financial dealings that clarified the true fate of our house deposit. "The scoundrel has been at this for years," Marlene remarked during our initial meeting, spreading financial records across the table in a private room at her office. Traditional financial betrayal intertwined with genuine infidelity. He has been channeling approximately 60% of his earnings to Chicago, all the while upholding the illusion of saving for your shared future. I recalled gazing at the papers, financial statements, property documents, tuition fees, experiencing an odd sense of disconnection, as if we were talking about another person's existence, another person's treachery. "What would you like to pursue?" Marlene inquired. "If you're considering a divorce, I can gather additional evidence for you. The greater the evidence we gather regarding the financial deceit, the more robust your stance will become." "Everything," I responded, my tone unwavering even amidst the chaos within. "I seek to uncover all the details while keeping my awareness hidden from him. Not at this moment. That dialogue had initiated a 1.5 years of discreet inquiry. Marlene discreetly attached tracking devices to David's car, meticulously recorded his movements while on business trips, and captured photographs of him with Jessica and the children. She acquired copies of credit card statements revealing the purchases David had made for his other family, including birthday gifts for the children, jewelry for Jessica, and household items for their Chicago home. In the meantime, I initiated my own concurrent inquiry. I positioned a discreet camera in our home office, recording moments of David accessing our shared accounts and moving funds to Chicago. I documented phone conversations in which he provided justifications for the postponed house purchases and fertility treatments. I maintained detailed records of each deception, every overlooked appointment, every invented work crisis. The proof accumulated. School functions he attended in Chicago, while asserting he was at business meetings, family, trips showcased on Jessica's social media, while he insisted he was with clients, birthday parties for children he had never mentioned to me. 3 months into my inquiry, I sought the expertise of Barbara Chen, a divorce attorney renowned for managing high-profile cases with both discretion and a fierce sense of efficiency. This is one of the most thorough instances of marital deception I've encountered, Barbara remarked, examining my evidence. Many clients approach me with doubts or pieces of evidence. A prosecutor would be thrilled with the file you've compiled. I aim to be comprehensive, I clarified. I desire absolute clarity, leaving him no opportunity to evade responsibility. Barbara had nodded, grasping the reasoning behind my meticulous strategy. What is your schedule? We can proceed with the divorce right away, based on what you currently possess. However, I wasn't prepared, not at this moment. I required something deeper than mere records of David's treachery. I sought safety, autonomy, a future beyond his reach. I need some time, I said to Barbara. It's time to take control of my finances and get ready for the next chapter beyond David. He believes I rely on him for financial support. I must ensure that when I face him, he holds no power over me. Thus commenced the next chapter of my preparation, crafting not merely a case against David, but laying the groundwork for my existence beyond him. I propelled my business forward, embracing bigger clients and broadening my team. I established new bank accounts at institutions where David had no affiliations. I sought guidance from financial experts regarding safeguarding my assets throughout the divorce process. I started to explore properties and neighborhoods that David had overlooked, areas he deemed unsuitable for us, where he would never unexpectedly cross paths with me following our separation. I recalled the day, 6 months into my inquiry, when Marlene had unveiled the most incriminating evidence to date. Video footage captures David at his daughter's 5th birthday party, embodying the essence of a devoted father as if it were the most instinctive thing imaginable. Jessica immortalizing the scene on her phone, David encircling her waist with his arm, a flawless family portrait. That same evening, he reached out to me, mentioning that his conference was dragging on, expressing how much he missed me, and counting down the days until he could return home. I reacted with a blend of disappointment and understanding, all the while observing footage of him slicing birthday cake alongside another woman and their child. "How do you endure it?" Marlene had inquired of me once. "Coexisting with him, given your understanding." It was a reasonable inquiry, one I had pondered repeatedly throughout those extended months. After careful consideration, I responded that I am no longer living with my husband. I find myself immersed in a narrative of deceit. I'm collecting information on arrival. It's no longer a matter of personal feelings. It's calculated. However, that wasn't completely accurate. It was intimate. Each revelation felt like a fresh scar, each deception a further act of treachery. I had cherished David, the person I believed him to be, with all my heart. Witnessing that man transform into a stranger felt akin to enduring a death, a profound loss that demanded its own intimate mourning. I transformed that sorrow into purpose, into strategy, into creating something more resilient from the remnants of what David had shattered. As he wove his intricate tales, I forged a fresh existence, one in which I was not merely a victim, but the designer of my own destiny. After a year of delving into my inquiry, I reached a pivotal decision that would significantly change the course of our impending clash. I reached out to Jessica. Initially, not directly. I had Barbara compose a letter that was, formal, factual, devoid of any accusations or emotional undertones, requesting a confidential gathering. The letter contained just the right amount of detail to confirm my status as David's wife, while keeping the depth of my understanding under wraps. 2 days later, Jessica's reply arrived. A brief email containing just a Chicago phone number. When I called, her tone was cautious, filled with doubt. "That's impossible, as he never mentioned you to me. Exactly like... It seems he never mentioned me to you." Yet another prolonged silence followed. "I'm looking for evidence. I will send it, as I had committed to doing. Everything. If you're open to it, I believe we should arrange a meeting. It seems there are numerous topics we need to explore together." The meeting occurred in a secluded room at a hotel in Chicago, 3 months prior. Jessica came prepared, carrying a folder filled with documents, property records, birth certificates, school forms, each one affirming David's role as her partner and the father of her children. After 6 hours of exchanging insights, we filled in the blanks of our understanding, captivated by the intricate tapestry of deception David had woven to maintain the separation of his dual existence. Jessica showed me text messages where David claimed he was meeting with lawyers regarding restraining orders against his unstable ex, saying he told her I was mentally ill. He shared with me his vision of our dream future, and I responded, opening up, bank statements illustrating how our house deposit had financed private education for her children. After those 6 hours, Jessica and I had forged an unexpected bond, 2 women brought together by shared betrayal, united against the remarkable deceit of one man. "What will your next move be?" Jessica inquired as our meeting came to an end. "I will complete what I began," I assured her. "Construct a solid argument, ensure my future is protected, and then face him with the reality. What about you?" Jessica gazed at the photographs of her children and David's children, scattered across the table that lay between us. She had stated with a certain simplicity that protection was necessary for them. No matter what unfolds with David, their priority remains paramount. We had separated with a mutual understanding. As the moment for confrontation approached, we would align our efforts. David found himself exposed, with no refuge from the reality that loomed over him. Over the past 3 months, the last pieces have seamlessly come together. The residence in Westbrook acquired outright via a private transaction, the legal paperwork arranged for the divorce proceedings, the security protocols established at both my workplace and new dwelling, the meticulously planned schedule for the impending confrontation. As I listened to David bustling about our bedroom, gathering the items that would transition with him into his new, reduced existence, a whirlwind of emotions surged within me. A deep sorrow for what was gone, a burning rage at his treachery, yet an overwhelming wave of relief that the period of uncertainty had come to an end. A message from Jessica lit up my phone screen. "He keeps calling without pause, and I haven't responded following our agreement." I shot off a swift response. "Keep going, it's paying off." Beyond the confines of 4 walls, the sanctuary of rest, I could hear David on the phone, his voice a hushed urgency, likely recording yet another frantic message for Jessica. His realms were intertwining now, the meticulously divided aspects of his existence colliding with overwhelming intensity. I glanced at my watch. 5 minutes left, David," I called out, my voice unwavering even as emotions churned just below the surface. The foundation of my case was solid, the proof undeniable. The snare had been laid and triggered. What was left was to strike the decisive blow, the disclosure that would irrevocably alter the dynamics of our relationship. David stepped out of the bedroom, suitcase in hand, his face reflecting a blend of frustration and acceptance. "This isn't over, Sarah," he declared, dropping the bag with a weighty thud. "You can't simply catch me off guard like this and think I'll just vanish." "I don't anticipate your vanishing act," I responded with composure. "I anticipate that you will confront the repercussions of your choices. There exists a distinction." He ran his hand through his hair, that once charming gesture now laid bare, exposing the anxious tell of a man well versed in deception. "I'm in need of additional time. It's important that we discuss this in a logical manner. We've moved beyond that, David. For 7 years you had the opportunity to be truthful with me, yet you opted for deceit each and every day." My phone buzzed once more, a message from Barbara letting me know that the divorce filing was prepared, to be submitted first thing in the morning. Everything was unfolding as intended, yet an air of incompleteness lingered. Even after 1.5 years of meticulous planning, a wealth of evidence, and a well-rehearsed showdown, it dawned on me that I was lacking a vital element: comprehension. "What is the reason behind this?" I inquired abruptly. "Before you go, I need to understand your reasons, not just the methods you used or your thoughts at the time, but the motivation behind your choice of this path." David appeared briefly surprised by the question, as though he had braced himself for hostility and blame, but not for sincere interest. "It's intricate," he started, resorting to his usual avoidance. "Go ahead," I challenged, settling into the sofa and motioning for him to occupy the chair opposite me. "Only a few minutes remain. Utilize them with care." He paused for a moment, then took a seat, clutching his suitcase tightly as though he feared I might take it away. "It was unexpected," he admitted at last. "When Jessica reached out to me 5 years ago, it was merely meant to be a reunion with a long-lost friend. Yet, an undeniable bond lingered between us. Upon discovering her financial struggles post-divorce, you chose to step in as her support. I completed it for him, like a knight in shining armor, the part you've always relished, taking on. He made no attempt to refute it. Assistance was essential for her. One event unfolded after another, and before long she found herself expecting Emma. A wave of panic washed over me. I realized I must share this with you, bring our marriage to a close, and act with integrity. Yet I found it impossible to inflict that kind of pain on you. Instead, you led a life of duality, deceiving both sides. For years, I noticed a remarkable kindness among us." David recoiled at the sharpness in my voice. I reassured myself it was just a phase, that I would find a way to resolve it. However, with Michael's arrival, the circumstances took a turn for the more complex. I found myself pondering that if I could just earn enough, attract the right clients, perhaps I could manage to make everything function smoothly without causing any harm. What lies ahead for us? What are our plans for the family? Were those merely a placeholder? A handy narrative to maintain? Yo complaciente? He possessed the elegance of feeling remorseful. I truly desired those things with you, Sarah. At the outset, I was sincere in every word I expressed. Yet, as life unfolded, it became intricate, and I found myself unable to make a decision. I cherished elements of each life, each relationship. In your presence, I experienced a profound intellectual bond, a harmonious social alignment, and a companion who truly grasped my reality. With Jessica, I had a family, I interrupted. Young ones. The future you continually postponed alongside me. David nodded, his gaze averted from mine. I am convinced. I was looking out for everyone, managing both households, supporting both families in various ways, all the while depleting our resources to favor your chosen household. I added, fascinating interpretation of self-care. Just as he was about to reply, my phone buzzed with Marlene's number lighting up the screen. I responded, moving into the kitchen for solitude? Is that you, Sarah? Marlene's voice carried a sense of urgency. Please check your email immediately. You must take a moment to observe this before allowing him to depart. What is it exactly? I inquired, maintaining a hushed tone. Monetary transactions. Substantial ones. Started this morning from his personal account. I have been keeping an eye on things as you requested. A shiver coursed through my body. Share with me. He has depleted his personal savings. Nearly $300,000 has been moved to an offshore account in the Caymans. Traditional tactics for concealing assets before a divorce. I am currently dispatching the documentation to you. Thank you, Marlene, I replied, my thoughts swirling. Continue to observe closely. I concluded the call and swiftly glanced at my email. There it stood. There were signs of significant withdrawals from David's personal account. One I was aware of but had chosen not to bring up during our confrontation. Curious to observe his actions regarding it. At last I found my answer. While he lounged on my sofa, professing his desire for everyone's well-being, he was secretly concealing assets and gearing up for a financial showdown. This was the moment. The unexpected event that caught me off guard. Yet in hindsight, I should have seen it coming. The ultimate realization that David was never the person I believed him to be. His deceit transcended mere emotional betrayal, evolving into a scheme of deliberate financial exploitation. I walked back into the living room, an unfamiliar chill in my attitude. This morning has certainly been eventful, I remarked, raising my phone to display the bank transfer details on the screen. Prior to returning to your oblivious spouse, you transferred $300,000 to an account located overseas? Thinking about a getaway. David's complexion faded to a ghostly hue. How did you? It's irrelevant how I came to know. What truly matters is that even at this moment, ensnared in your deceit, faced with irrefutable proof, your initial reaction was to conceal your possessions, to take what scant remnants may have remained for me in the separation. It's my money, he asserted, a hint of defensiveness in his voice. From earlier. We tied the knot. It is distinct property. Could it be? I inquired, perusing the documentation that Marlene had provided. This account has consistently received deposits from our joint funds over the years, as indicated by the records. The money you asserted was allocated for our house deposit. I flung the phone onto the coffee table that lay between us. The proof of his most recent treachery, illuminated, casting a damning light on the display. I intended to allow you to depart with a semblance of dignity, I remarked. My voice remained calm, even as the fury surged within me. I intended to approach this divorce with care, keeping the most damaging evidence confidential, and safeguarding a fragment of your reputation. For the sake of the 7 years we spent together, I made my way to the bookshelf and pulled out another folder. This, a single read, marked only as a contingency. However, you have opted for a different path, David. Once more. I opened the folder and took out several documents, laying them on the table beside my phone. These are merely reproductions. The original documents have been dispatched to the Financial Crimes Division of the FBI, the IRS, and the Office of the State Attorney General. David leaned forward, poring over the documents, his complexion becoming increasingly ashen with every page he turned. These transactions are confidential. Matters of business. You had no authority to do that. Deceptive dealings. I made a correction to his statement. Tax evasion is a serious issue. Improper handling of client funds. Fraudulent activities involving wire communications that cross state boundaries. For months now, I've had forensic accountants meticulously examining your business dealings, David. Did you genuinely believe I wouldn't be meticulous? He rose suddenly, moving restlessly around the room like a caged creature. You're just pretending. Engaging federal authorities is not an option. It would harm you as well. The resources we hold together. I reminded him that we no longer have shared assets. I have enjoyed financial independence for many years now, establishing my own business, taking charge of my own investments. Your unlawful actions have no impact on me. I approached the evening. The documents have been placed back in the folder. I had no intention of using these. They served as a safeguard, a potential outcome to consider if you resorted to underhanded tactics during the divorce. However, transferring assets abroad just before our showdown. That's quite underhanded, David. That's an unequivocal statement of hostility. Allow me to clarify, he started. However, I interrupted him with a lifted hand. Keep that for your attorney. A solid choice is essential. Ideally, having navigated the complexities of federal financial crimes, I glanced at my watch one last time. Your half hour has concluded. You should take your leave now. David remained motionless, the weight of his predicament dawning on him at last. He was not merely losing his marriage. He was confronting the unraveling of his carefully constructed double life. He was possibly confronting criminal charges that could obliterate everything. His journey, his autonomy, his prospects with either family. Sarah, he murmured, his voice scarcely audible. I kindly ask you to reconsider this. Action. Let's find a solution together. I will return the funds. I will provide you with all that you desire in the divorce. Please refrain from sending those documents. That's the essence of consequences, David. Once initiated, they begin to evolve independently. The reports have been submitted. The inquiries are already underway. Tomorrow morning, my attorney will be presenting evidence of your financial misconduct in our divorce filing. I approached the door and swung it open, unmistakably indicating that our discussion had come to an end. You still have options? I remarked, as he hesitantly grabbed his suitcase. Work together with the authorities, make amends, take accountability for your actions, or persist in your current path of deception, concealment, and betrayal of those who place their trust in you. However, recognize that the decisions you make will shape what is left of your existence beyond this moment. David lingered at the doorway, casting a glance back at the apartment we once called home, reflecting on the life he had methodically eroded through years of lies. I did love you, he said softly, in my own way. Your approach, I responded, lacked any semblance of love. It was about ownership, mastery, and ease. I was worthy of more. Jessica truly deserved more. Your children deserved more than this. He recoiled at the thought of his children. What should I do next? Where should I head to? For the first time since our clash started, I sensed a glimmer of true compassion for him. Insufficient to alter the trajectory, yet ample to acknowledge the profound human sorrow at the heart of the matter. A man who had woven a labyrinth of deceit so intricate that he could no longer navigate his escape. It's up to you to unravel that, I remarked, but I recommend beginning with truthfulness. This is the sole route that takes you to destinations of true significance. As David entered the hallway, his shoulders drooping in defeat. I experienced no sense of victory or satisfaction, just a profound relief that this chapter of my life was drawing to a close, accompanied by the unusual somber weight of justice fulfilled. I shut the door down the hall, the sounds fading away until they vanished completely. As I faced my apartment, now entirely my own, I felt the initial delicate whispers of liberation. A message from Jessica lit up my phone screen. He's on his way to the airport, tickets in hand for Phoenix, heading to his mother's house. But she's not picking up his calls. Provided a concise response. It's completed here as well. Are you all right? She replied without delay. Making progress. The children are with my sister. We'll find a way to make it work. A new message came. This time from Barbara. Offshore account has been marked. A forensic accountant meticulously recording every detail. We are well prepared to submit our filing tomorrow. Lastly, a note from Marlene. Observation indicates that the individual has exited the Jew building. The security measures at your new residence have been discussed and are now in place. Approval granted for the next stage. I inhaled deeply, surveying the apartment that had served as the backdrop for countless lies. Tomorrow I will start transferring the final pieces of my possessions to my new residence. Tomorrow the divorce filing will reveal the essential details about David. Deceit. Maintaining a degree of privacy for Jessica and the children while making sure he couldn't evade accountability for his financial wrongdoing. Tomorrow will present its unique challenges and a spectrum of emotions to navigate. Yet here, in this fleeting pause between clash and outcome, I permitted myself to recognize the magnitude of what had just transpired. This is not merely the conclusion of a marriage. It signifies the restoration of my life, my future, and my independence. The mechanism had been activated. The meticulously crafted argument had been put into action. Retreat was no longer an option for any of us. Always onward, embracing whatever lies ahead. I approached the window, observing David as he appeared. From our building far below, suitcase in hand, phone pressed to his ear, perhaps reaching out in a frantic manner to Jessica, to his mother, to anyone who could provide refuge amidst the chaos he has created. For a brief instant, I experienced an unusual shift in viewpoint, witnessing the man I once cherished alongside. The unfamiliar figure he appeared layered like a haunting double exposure in a photograph. At that moment, the image came into focus. A solitary figure stands at the street corner, confronted by the stark reality that has long been avoided. I shifted my gaze from the window and focused on what lies ahead. A future forged not in deception and treachery, but in the unwavering strength and resilience I had unearthed. Throughout the 18 months of preparation for this day, I have envisioned a future that is entirely my own. 3 months later, I found myself in the sunlit kitchen of my Westbrook home, observing the moving company as they brought in the final pieces of my furniture. A news alert made my phone vibrate. David admitted his guilt in the case of financial fraud. Fees, the plea deal, would spare him from prison, yet it marked the end of his career in finance. Jessica made a call yesterday. An unforeseen bond had formed between us, rooted in our common experiences and a deep sense of respect for one another. Their children were adapting to the changes in their lives. She was reconstructing much like I was. I settled into the bay window that offered a view of my garden. I personally planted the vegetable beds. The trees are starting to burst forth with blossoms. Springtime, a time of fresh beginnings. Last week, David's mother sent a card, extending her apologies for her son's actions and conveying her hope that I was discovering some peace. I replied with a straightforward thank you. Some connections held value, even as others faded into the background. My company has just secured its biggest client to date. At last, My new home stood finished. The existence I had meticulously crafted over those 18 months of preparation was now completely brought to life. Not merely a means to flee, but rather a goal that holds true value. I experienced the loss of a husband, yet in that void, I discovered my true self. Ultimately, it was a bargain well struck. Elevate. Next, you have 2 more remarkable narratives right before you. If this one resonates, you won't want to miss out on these. Simply click to explore them. Be sure to subscribe and activate the notification bell so you stay updated. Is there anything we need to upload?